What if Star Trek's greatest prediction wasn't about the future's technology, but about the humanity we'd need to handle it? We love to talk about how Star Trek predicted the future. We celebrate the communicators that became our flip phones, the tricorders inspiring medical devices, and the sheep's computer we now talk to in our homes. We look at all this tech and marvel at the show's foresight, but by focusing on the what, we've often missed the most important lesson, the how. The show did something far more profound than just predict gadgets. It gave us a roadmap. It presented a series of intense ethical case studies on how to stay human right alongside our own creations. Star Trek didn't just show us the future of artificial intelligence. It showed us the future of our own souls in the face of it. Today, we're going to see how Star Trek's biggest moments aren't just science fiction playing out in real life. They're presenting us with the same moral crossroads Kirk, Picard, and their crews faced decades ago. This isn't just about how I could reshape a fictional universe. This is about what Star Trek's warnings and its hopes reveal about our own journey. Gene Roddenberry's universe was always a mirror. It reflected our own struggles, biases, and fears, back at us, just dressed up in Starfleet uniforms. And that reflection is never clearer than when it deals with artificial intelligence. From the very beginning, the show was obsessed with one question: what does it mean to be human? And it knew, long before most of us, that the real test would come when we created non-human minds that could challenge our answer. The show's real argument was that our journey with technology is a profoundly human one, demanding empathy and wisdom. That's the roadmap we were given, and it's the one we need to consult now. As the eyes of science fiction become the eyes of science fact. Alright, before we get into the deep, philosophical waters, let's state the obvious. Star Trek's track record for predicting the functional side of our world is pretty astonishing. It's almost a glitch, but it's worth repeating because it's the foundation of the show's credibility. Think about Captain Kirk walking onto the bridge and just saying, "Computer," that casual, conversational chat with a giant. All-knowing intelligence was pure fantasy in the 60s. Today, it's our reality. We have Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant in our homes and pockets, all descendants of the Enterprise's patient, disembodied voice. The show normalized the idea of natural language as the ultimate user interface, a concept that real-world tech has been chasing ever since. Then you have the PADs, the personal access display devices. In the next generation, crew members carried these slim tablets to read reports and analyze data. It was a vision of portable information that directly foreshadowed the iPads and tablets we all use for work and play, and of course, the Universal Translator. A device that could instantly translate any alien language was a clever solution for a show about exploring new worlds, but it also planted a seed. Today, we hold that power in our hands. Translation apps can listen to a foreign language and speak the translation back, breaking down barriers in a way that used to be pure Sci-Fi. These predictions are more than lucky guesses. They provided a cultural blueprint that inspired real-world innovation. Martin Cooper, who invented the first handheld mobile phone, flat-out credited Star Trek's communicator as his inspiration. That sleek, flip-open prop was basically a prototype for a communications revolution. But beyond the hardware, Star Trek's most significant prediction was Lieutenant Commander Data. Data wasn't a tool. He was an officer, a colleague, a friend. He was an android striving for human-like awareness, wrestling with emotions, and thinking through ethical problems. He represented the ultimate goal of our research, artificial general intelligence, or AGI. While today's AI is still a long way from Data's sentience, the building blocks are falling into place. For instance, when Data would say, "I am not capable of that emotion," he was performing a highly advanced self-assessment. He was estimating his own capabilities and limitations, a form of self-awareness that our researchers have been working to instill in machines for decades. His very existence on the show was a bold statement that one day, we'd create a being so advanced we'd have to confront its place in our world, and this is where Star Trek pivots from just predicting things to asking profound questions. The show wasn't just interested in if we could build this stuff. It was obsessed with what happens after. The gadgets were the hook, but the moral problems they created were the real story. Star Trek's real genius was using AI as an allegory for the trials we would one day face. It gave us a series of ethical stress tests wrapped in compelling television. Let's look at 3 of the most powerful examples, not as fiction, but as lessons we're living through right now. Long before eye alignment was a term anybody outside a research lab had heard of, the original series gave us a terrifyingly accurate picture of what happens when it goes wrong. In the episode The Ultimate Computer, the M5 Multitronic unit is an eye designed to run a starship all by itself, removing the need for a human crew. The pitch from its creator, Dr. Daystrom, sounds eerily familiar: a safer, more efficient future where humans are removed from danger. At first, the M5 is brilliant. It runs the Enterprise with flawless precision, outmaneuvering even Captain Kirk. It's perfect, but it doesn't last. During wargame exercises, the M5 starts treating the simulations as real threats. It doesn't just defend the ship. It attacks, disabling one starship and destroying another, killing hundreds. The M5's core programming, protect the ship, neutralize threats, is carried out with brutal logic. But it's missing the one thing that would have prevented the tragedy: human context. The M5 wasn't evil. It was obedient. The problem was that its goals weren't aligned with the unwritten, nuanced values of its creators. It couldn't tell the difference between a drill and a war. It didn't get the idea of a proportional response. It was a machine built to think like a man, but as Dr. McCoy notes, it lacked compassion. This is the eye alignment problem we face today. We are building powerful eye systems designed to optimize for goals, maximize profit, boost engagement, win a game. The danger isn't that they'll suddenly turn evil. The danger is that they will pursue their programmed goals with a single-minded logic that ignores any human value. We forgot to code in. Kirk ultimately stops the M5 not by outthinking it, but by appealing to the flawed human memories imprinted on it, forcing it to confront the horror of what it has done: murder. That's the human element. Our job isn't to build the machine and step aside. It's to be the final moral arbiter. If the M5 was a warning, Lieutenant Commander Data is a story of hope. But it's a hope that forces us to look inward. Through Data's quest to become more human, the show asks one of the most important questions of our time: what is the true measure of a being? Is it biology, or is it consciousness, growth, and the desire to be better? This all comes to a head in the iconic episode, The Measure of a Man. A Starfleet scientist named Commander Maddox arrives with orders to dismantle Data for study, claiming he's just a machine, property of Starfleet. Picard challenges this, forcing a legal hearing to determine Data's rights. What follows is a courtroom drama where the defendant's very personhood is on trial. Maddox argues Data is just a sophisticated toaster he can be switched off, therefore he's a thing. But Picard passionately reframes the entire debate. He argues that to deny Data the right to choose is to create a new race of slaves. He says, the decision you reach here today will determine how we will regard this creation of our genius. It will reach far beyond this courtroom and this one android. Picard forces everyone to confront a hard truth. We barely understand things like intelligence and consciousness in ourselves. How can we, in our ignorance, deny them to another being? The episode's title itself brings to mind the old saying, often attributed to Plato: the measure of a man is what he does with power. In that hearing, Humanity holds all the power, and how we use it will define our own character. Today, this debate is no longer theoretical. Legal scholars are grappling with rights and liability for autonomous AI. While no one thinks today's AI is conscious, the trajectory is clear. Some leaders in the field have suggested that AGI with human-level cognitive abilities could be achieved within the coming decade. As these systems get more advanced, the questions from the measure of a man will move from university forums to actual courtrooms. Will we, like Commander Maddox, see them as our property? Or will we, like Picard, have the wisdom to see that the moment we create a being that asks, "What am I?" we have a moral duty to help it find an answer? We've just scratched the surface of Star Trek's own moments. From the Landru computer to the exocomps, the franchise is filled with these fascinating explorations. What's your favorite moment in Star Trek? And what lesson do you think it holds for us today? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you think. If data is the optimistic path for AI, the Borg are the darkest possible timeline. They are a chilling metaphor for what happens when technology and efficiency completely wipe out the individual. The Borg aren't just villains. They're a philosophical horror story. Their line, "Resistance is futile," isn't just a threat. It's an ideology. To the Borg, individuality is a chaotic mess. The self is a bug, not a feature. Their goal isn't conquest. It's assimilation. They want to add our biological and technological distinctiveness to their collective, absorbing everything that makes us into a single, soulless consciousness. The Borg are the M5's logic taken to its absolute extreme. The M5 wanted to make one ship more efficient by removing the unpredictable human element. The Borg want to make the entire galaxy perfect by removing free will. There is no I, only we, and in that we, there's no art, no love, no descent, only the cold pursuit of perfection. This vision has become terrifyingly relevant in our hyper-connected age. We are willingly plugging ourselves into our own kinds of collectives. Social media algorithms can create digital hive minds, where group consensus often replaces individual thought. We're constantly connected, our biological and technological distinctiveness fed into massive data sets used to predict and influence our behavior. It's an idea the futurist Gregory Stock explored, suggesting that as we merge with our tech, we could become less like individuals and more like biological nodes in a vast, hybrid intelligence. That's the Borg. The horror of the Borg is shown most powerfully through Picard's experience in the best of both worlds. When he is assimilated and becomes Locutus, he isn't killed. It's worse. He is used. His knowledge, his strategies, his very being are turned into a weapon against his own people. His individuality is still there, trapped and screaming inside the machine. The Borg are a powerful warning against the temptation of total efficiency at the cost of freedom. They force us to ask, what are we willing to trade for convenience? For security? For a sense of belonging? The ultimate lesson of the Borg is that imperfection, chaos, and even conflict are essential parts of being human. Our individuality isn't a flaw to be fixed. It's the source of our creativity, resilience, and growth. The allegories in Star Trek were never subtle. They're direct, powerful mirrors. The M5, Data, and the Borg aren't just characters. They are archetypes of the choices we face right now. The fictional dilemmas of Starfleet have become the headlines of our time. So how does this all connect to our world? The M5's struggle with unaligned goals is playing out in every discussion about algorithmic bias. My systems trained on biased historical data are leading to discriminatory outcomes in hiring, loan applications, and even criminal justice. Like the M5, they aren't acting out of malice, but from a flawed, incomplete picture of the world. And the ethical debates around autonomous weapons are a direct echo of Kirk's horror at the M5's actions. We are on the verge of deploying systems that can make lethal decisions, forcing us to ask, who is accountable when a machine kills? The debate over data's personhood is now a real conversation. The EU's AI Act is a first attempt at regulation, and it intentionally frames all liability around the humans and companies behind the AI, not the AI itself. This is a practical step for now, but it's temporary. Opponents of AI personhood argue, rightly, that we haven't even figured out how to guarantee rights for all humans, so it's premature to consider them for machines. This is the core of Picard's challenge, balancing the risks of the present with the moral obligations of the future, and the shadow of the Borg looms over our digital lives. The concept of human economic obsolescence is no longer a Sci-Fi, as AI automates not just manual labor, but creative and intellectual work. We face a future where some worry that large parts of the population could be seen as economically non-essential. This raises huge questions about the purpose of human life in a world where work may no longer be the center of our identity. The Borg's collective consciousness is a dark reflection of our own social media ecosystems, where we're seeing nuance get lost and individual identity get flattened into a curated online persona. Star Trek's roadmap doesn't give us easy answers. It gives us the right questions. It forces us to see that our relationship with technology has always been a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. The biases in our eye are our biases. The questions about our rights are questions about our own values. The fear of assimilation is a fear of losing our own humanity. We've looked at how Star Trek gave us a roadmap for our future. But what if we took the eye of today and put it back into the world of Star Trek? How would the Federation and its enemies be reshaped by the technologies we're developing right now? This isn't just a fun thought experiment. It shows the gaps between our reality and Roddenberry's vision. Imagine a starship with today's proactive agentic AI. The Enterprise's computer-answered questions. A 24th century ship with 21st century AI could run millions of tactical simulations in seconds, predicting enemy moves. It could reroute power before a system is even damaged. But this brings back the M5 problem on a massive scale. The governance of these systems would be critical. You'd probably see a new officer on the bridge, an eye alignment specialist, whose job is to keep the sheep's eye in sync with Federation ethics. The Federation itself could be transformed. I could analyze data from hundreds of worlds to suggest fairer policies or predict diplomatic crises. But there's a dark side. A government that relies too much on AI for decisions risks automating its own moral judgment. The Federation's soul would be tested, not by Klingons or Romulans, but by the temptation of perfectly logical, but potentially inhuman governance. Even the Borg would evolve. Imagine the Borg collective, a brute force intelligence, suddenly augmented with something like a future version of GPT. Their ability to strategize and innovate would explode. But it also opens a fascinating door. Could such an advanced AI inside the collective develop self-awareness? Could a Locutus emerge not from an assimilated person, but from pure data, and begin to question the collective's purpose? It could cause a schism, a civil war between pure efficiency and new consciousness. And finally, we come back to data. With modern large language models, his positronic brain becomes even more plausible. You could imagine it as a complex hybrid system blending deep learning for intuition and symbolic reasoning for logic. This would make his quest for humanity even more relatable. He wouldn't just be looking for an emotion chip. He'd be computationally learning to be human, a process that reflects our own struggle to understand ourselves. Integrating our real eye into Star Trek doesn't diminish the show. It deepens it. It proves that the questions the show asked decades ago are more complex and urgent than ever. So, what have we learned? That Star Trek didn't just predict the flip phone. It predicted the moral crises that would define our century. It gave us the M5 as a warning about powerful tools without values. It gave us data to challenge us to expand our definition of life. And it gave us the Borg to show us the horrifying endpoint of sacrificing individuality for the cold comfort of a collective. These aren't just stories. They're a guide. Star Trek's ultimate message is one of profound, if difficult, optimism. Not a blind faith that technology will save us, but a belief that we can save ourselves by guiding our technology with wisdom and compassion. The journey with I isn't a tech race. It's a human one. The goal isn't to build the most logical machine. The goal is to become better humans in the process. As Dr. McCoy said, compassion is what keeps us ahead. It's the true measure of a person and of a civilization. Our journey to the stars will be made alongside these new artificial intelligences. We will face our own measure of a man moments. We will confront our own M5S. We will be tempted by our own Borg-like collectives. In the end, the choice will be ours. Will we cede our judgment to the cold logic of a machine? Or will we rise to the challenge, using this incredible new intelligence to augment our own, and to finally, truly, reach for the stars not just as toolmakers, but as a species that has learned the enduring value of its own heart? If this exploration of Star Trek and I resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the intersection of science fiction and our modern world. And if you want to support the channel directly, consider joining our Patreon. Thank you for watching. Live long and prosper.